Welcome to Car Garage. Size 21 mil. The lug nuts. We're gonna turn the wheel so it's facing out, so you're not gonna have a hard time removing the caliper bolts. And for the caliper bolts, you'll need a 14 mil socket. You can do just one bolt, which is the bottom part, and then you can just slide it up like so. And you can remove it by sliding it out. Make sure you're holding on to the boot when you're sliding out the caliper so the boot doesn't come out together with it. Now we're gonna have to push the piston back of the caliper so we can put the new pads in, no problem. So here I have the tools, turning it in until the caliper piston is pushed all the way back. So there it is, it's pushed all the way back in. Now I usually like to clean the piston a little bit. Might as well clean the slider pin. And there I have a hook to hook it onto the suspension. Just do it away from your work. And there I have a 17 mil socket to remove the bracket in order to remove the rotors. And there I have a 1/2 inch ratcheting tool, a long, extra long. It's a good idea to have a long, extra long ratcheting tools, so you'll put less effort on loosening bolts. And the bracket is off. And you can slide out the pads. And actually there I'm showing you guys the shims of the pads. Typically on Toyotas, they have a shims on their pads, and if you buy an aftermarket pads, it comes with a shim, but I usually like to use the original shims. So what I'm gonna do is skip the shims, and I'm gonna remove the new pads, the new pad shims, and I'm gonna put those old one in to the new pads. And before I do that, I usually like to put some grease on the bore hub so that I won't be having a big problem when I'm going to be removing the rotor in the next brake service. And show you guys how to clean the rotor bit with a brake cleaner. Give it a good wipe with brake cleaner, and that should be good. And just slap it on like that. What I also like to do is I get the nut, there you go. I get a big nut and put the wheel nut back on just to hold on through the rotors, just like so. So it does not move around, and I'm not gonna have any trouble putting the pads in or the bracket. I like to clean the bracket. Normally, some pads, aftermarket pads, comes with those shims on the bracket, but in this case, I'm using the OEM brake pads from Toyota, so I'm just gonna clean the shims. And now that we have the rotors back together, we can put the bracket in with 17. Alright, we're gonna tighten the bolts. Torque spec for this bolt is 101 foot-pounds. You can use a torque wrench, or if you have a good feel for torquing, you can use a same one you had loose. And there's the new pads, Toyota. So it does not come with the shims, you can see. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put those shims back onto these new pads. What I like to do is I usually like to clean the shims before I put them on, and I'd like to there you go. So clean both shims. So there's inner shims and the outer shims. What I usually like to do with the tabs is I bend the tabs just a little bit so that it fits perfectly on the new pads. Normally when you put the shim back on just like so, it would be loose and easy to pull off. So what I like to do is bend the tab just a little bit so it does not pull off easily, right? You know what I'm saying? So just like so, that's how you put it on. The outer shims is usually the shiny one, and the inner shims is usually the matte color. So you can see here with the hammer, I'm trying to bend the tab, and there it goes, nice and tight. It's not falling off. Gonna put some lubricate on the pads ears. Slide it in like so. Same thing with the outer pads. So and what I also like to do is I also lubricates the contacts on the pads, on the inner and on the outer. So for the inner part, you can see circular mark right there on the inner pads. That's where I put the lubrication. And for the outer pads, you'll you'll see where the mark is. Alright, so it's all good. So like I was saying, I'm gonna put some lubrication on the outer pads, and that's where I'm gonna put it. And for the inner pads is usually where that circular mark is for the piston. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lubricate the slider pin with slider pin lube. You do that also with the other slider. Awesome, that's good. Now we're ready to put on the caliper, and I'm just gonna spread the slider pin grease on the pin, just like so, and it's ready to go back in. Make sure you don't kink the hose, it's not twisted or anything like that before you put it on, just like so. See where those grease lubrications are. It's right where the circular mark, the markings on the piston, and there you go. We're putting on the bolts. The torque spec for this bolt is a 25 foot-pounds. And there it is. We're all good with the brake. Thank you for watching.